Create Art Podcast. Commentary. Ritualize. Hello, friend. This is Timothy Chemo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I bring my over 30 years of experience in the educational world and the artistic world to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Now, way back in the holiday season of 2022, my wife gave me this deck of cards called Kickstart Creativity, and they're done by Ms. Whitehouse, Ms. Bonnie Smith Whitehouse. And you can find it online. I have the links in the show notes there. But I was, thinking, wait a minute, why do I need, cards to kickstart my creativity? I'm the host of this podcast, Create Art Podcast. And I started looking in these cards, and there's 50 of them. And when I looked at the cards, they had, a topic on it. They had a little bit of writing on the front and a lot of writing on the back. And they were broken up into three different categories: action cards, intention cards, and perspective cards. And as soon as I started reading through a couple of them, I was like, oh my gosh, because at that time I was getting ready to plan out what I was going to do for 2023. And I said to myself, well, there's 50 cards, there's 52 weeks in a year. I can do this every week and rock it out and still have some, for the new year, because every year I do a month of poetry and then a month of novel writing. So that's what you're getting here. We're getting close to finishing out all 50 of the cards. And they can be done solo, or, if you have a group of collaborators that you work with, either way works perfectly. So this week, we're doing the card called Ritualize. And when I saw this card pop up, I was thinking of a old Soundgarden song called Birth Ritual. And that's still going through my head right now as I'm doing the show here for you. And I was like, okay, ritual. And another story I want to mention is back when I was in school at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, go Salukis. Um, we were we had our mass communication college there and our theater college there, and for some reason there wasn't a lot of crossover between the two. I never understood that. I liked working with mass comm people. They were great people. And there was one show that mass comm did, um, and it was run by this couple that the guy was from Canada, and the gal, I forget where she was from. I think she was actually from Southern Illinois, and they called it Ritual. And basically, what they did is they brought us into a room blindfolded, and I don't know how they did this, but they had a bonfire, I believe, because I could smell the smoke. And I don't know how they didn't set off a fire alarm or anything like that. But they brought us into this room. And you're blindfolded, and you hear the drumming, and then people moving around you. And some of the actors were whispering in your ear, and then there's chanting and a lot of crazy stuff going on. And at one point, I just said, fuck it. I'm taking off this blindfold. I want to see what's going on. And, it's really dark in there. And I'm seeing these people dancing around, and like some of them are absolutely naked. Some of them are partially clothed. I was like, what the hell? What? And it was just a great experience. And I've never had anything like it. And I thought, that's the basis of a ritual, going back to that primordial ooze, you could say. And, just going back to our very prehistoric basics of how we would entertain each other, essentially. And how we related to, the gods, and, and all that kind of stuff. So when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Kind of groovy. So let's get started on this card and see where it takes us. I'm not going to dance around naked. I know, some of you are watching me on YouTube. Others of you are just listening to me. So, for those of you that are just listening to me, just imagine me dancing around naked and around a bonfire while we're doing this. And so we'll see where it goes from there. I'll probably have to put in an explicit rating on this for that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Back to the cards, though. Back to the cards. So on the front of the card is what I like to call the kernel of knowledge. It's just like one sentence about what the topic of the card deals with. And this week, the kernel of knowledge of ritual is rituals cultivate creativity because they are simultaneously grounded and mysterious. Going back to the show that I went to at SIU, it was very mysterious. They only did one show, and nobody knew what it was about. I am not even 100% sure that the faculty knew what it was about. It was a bit scandalous after it was done. And I don't think those folks did a show there again after that. They weren't expelled or anything. Nobody got into a whole lot of trouble, but it was one of those things that people talk about, decades later. I'm talking about it, and this happened in I believe 1998. So, I'm talking about it, over 20 years ago. And that's how much it impacted me. And, to have something like that impact you and to not really be able to put a finger on exactly why it impacted you, and it stayed in your head, and after all the minutia that happens in our life, to have that one thing stay in your head from your college career. Yeah, I went 3 years at SIU, 3 years at Virginia Commonwealth University, and a couple of years at Rock Valley College for my associates. Um, to have that be one of the major points of my college experience, and to have it still affect me 20, 25 years later. Wow, that's amazing. That's a ritual. And I think that's one of the things that we want to have as an artist, to have that kind of impact on somebody. And why did that have an impact on us? Well, it brought us back to the mysterious that's out there, and that's a reason why I'm sure you're here with me now, is to demystify a lot of the stuff in the art world. So that's what ritual kind of means to me, in the most basic kind of things. And when it's grounded, when it when I took the mask off, when I took the blindfold off, and seeing people in partial stages of undress or fully naked, it wasn't a pornography thing. It wasn't a a thing like that. It was just a I don't know. It was just a feeling in my soul that this was good. This is right. This was, getting back to our nature. So if it's something that's grounded like that, and that many people can share, and many people can have a basic same experience with it. Now, we all have our own experiences with art that we bring to, the baggage that we bring into the space. But to have that, and the people that I talked with that attended with me, we all said the basic same thing about it, and then there was each of us caught different elements of it. So great experience. I would love to have something like that happen again. If you're going to do something like that in your neck of the woods, let me know. I'll come. I'll definitely be there. Maybe we can do that at a podcast meetup or something. I don't know. But a ritual like that is great. And rituals can be other things as well, as we'll talk more about later on here. So Again, I like to demystify a lot of things. I'd like to have a basis of connection. And I think, getting a good definition of that is a great thing. So, our friends in Cambridge Dictionary, which I love, is ritualize, is defined as always done in the same way or consisting of a set of fixed actions performed regularly. That feels a little sterile to me, but I can see um, kind of what they're going at there. To have an effective ritual, we want to be doing it the same. If it's an effective one, we want to do it the same way each and every time. Now, some people, when they're doing their paintings, they have on the same music, they have incense on, same lighting, same brushes, pens, dancers put on the same shoes, same outfit, whatever it is for you that gets you ready to create. Maybe we should create some rituals for ourselves that help us get into that mindset. When I was first starting off writing and performing my writing, and a lot of the poetry readings in Chicago, Southern Illinois, Rockford, Illinois, a lot of Illinois there, I had to have a couple of drinks. I had to, have a couple of smokes, a couple of drinks, boom, we're ready to go. Nowadays, I don't do that, but like this morning, and I record these usually on Sunday mornings. Sundays is kind of my day of where I get to quote unquote sleep in. I never do. I'm usually up at 6:30 in the morning, anyways, because that's my ritual. That's what I do, and then I come and record this for you. But what I like doing is I like having my coffee. I'll throw on some PBS. And one of the things that I realized this morning was I popped on a show called Check Please out of Chicago. It's where they rate and review restaurants. And I remembered when I was living in Chicago, one of the things that I would do on the weekends is I would watch Check Please. And then the following week, I'd go to one of the restaurants or at a restaurant. I would feel like, if only this could be on Check Please and I could be the guy doing it. And that's, that would be my ritual. I watch Check Please, go see a movie, go grab some drinks someplace, see some jazz, and there we go. And every Sunday night was at the Green Mill. Every Wednesday was at another place that was doing poetry, and just kind of the rituals that happened in those settings. At the poetry reading, they read off this, and at the Green Mill, they kind of read off the same preamble, and it was the same, you sign up, this, that, the other thing, the same thing that get people kind of in the mood to receive the message that they were going to get. So that's the great thing about ritual is that it can set you as the artist in the mood to create, but it can also set your audience up so that way they can be in the mood to be open to the message that you are giving them. Like how I start off this podcast. It's the same music that when you hear that music, if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, I start off with the same music to kind of get you in that mood, and then I end with that same music to kind of get you onto your day. I don't want to drop you off and go, okay, great, now go and conquer the world. I want you to kind of have that vibe and go, all right, yeah, I liked what Tim said, and let's jam it out and do some art. Maybe after the you hear that music, then hey, it's time to go create something. So that's the ritual that I use, and a lot of times we do it subconsciously. When we're watching TV, you have your title screen that pops on, your theme song, all that kind of stuff, and it pops again at the end. That's a ritual. That gets us in the mood, lets us know, okay, hey, it's time to pay attention here, and it helps us to know, okay, let's shut everything else off and let's pay attention here. So that's what ritual can do. So if you spend some time with that, developing that for yourself, that's a way to get your art successfully out to people. If you prep them for it, they'll be more open to it. So, popping on to the rest of the card here. So, the next section of the card is a couple more sentences long, and I'll read that off to you and we'll talk about that. A ritual is simply a sacramental action you've intentionally introduced to the everyday routine of your life. Rituals ground us and connect us to deep symbolic meanings. Rituals can involve candles, tea, exercise, card reading, or meditation. They can be performed on sacred occasions, at mealtime, upon waking, at noontime, or before going to sleep. Ritual not only comforts and reassures us, but also links us to history and to the deepest part of human experience. Again, going back to that show at SIU, I really felt, like I was, a caveman, a Neanderthal. Some of these early people. I really felt connected with the people around me, even though I was blindfolded, and with the performers. That's what made it successful. 25 years later, it's still in my head. It's still in my craw as one of the best experiences I've had at a show. So I think when it's more grounded and when it's more earthy, when it's more natural like that, we can tap into that. We can research that. We can find out what others have done and incorporate that into our routine. And I think I'm not a wordsmith per se, a word historian or a word researcher, but routine, ritual, kind of the same thing. But I think ritual is more leaning towards the spiritual versus routine is more leaning towards um, the everyday. Hey, get up, grab my coffee, get dressed, and wash your face, and go out the door and go to work and whatnot. So the two are linked, but I think ritual connects more with our spirit and our soul versus routine, which connects with the outside world. So think about that when you're doing your art, whatever it is develop that ritual where okay, now is the time. I know some folks go, oh, I write when inspiration hits me. Okay, what if it doesn't hit you? You know, how do you define that? How do you get that to happen each and every time? And if you're struggling with that, maybe you just need to get in touch with yourself, your spirit. I know it's getting a little woo woo here, but that's okay. Maybe you just need to get in touch with yourself a little bit better. And then this inspiration fairy, which I used to believe in and I don't anymore, maybe that inspiration fairy that you believe in will come more often when you set up a ritual for that entity to come towards you and inspire you and inject you with that. I, if you've listened to me, you know that I think that inspiration is already out there waiting for you to discover it. But if you want that inspiration to discover you, set up that ritual and make that happen for yourself. When we look at ancient civilizations, even modern day civilizations. And when we look at religion, we see a lot of rituals that happen with religion, and it bleeds over into theater and bleeds over into movies. And when you go to a movie, and these days after the pandemic, how many of us go to movies? But the lights come down. We know, okay, this is the time to be quiet. The previews pop up, and then the movie, kicks off. That's a ritual that has started, years and years and years and years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, where, you lower the lights and you get everybody, ooh, we're getting ready to start. Something really exciting is going to happen. Something that we want to happen is going to happen. That's your ritual. So think about ways to incorporate that into your routine or ritual. All right. So challenges for us to think about. First one is invent a routine or observe a tradition. Pay attention to symbols and to your senses. And this is for you to develop. I'm not going to tell you, hey, clang some bells and have some mint julep tea and and you do it in your underwear. That's for you to decide for what you do. The stuff that I do is, it's very basic. I when I right before I record, I'm going to watch a little PBS, um, and just kind of ease myself into it. And then, I start up certain programs and have my coffee right to my right here. And I just kind of close out what's happening around me and get in the mood to go ahead and do the show for you. That's my ritual. That's how I do it. You might have something else that works for you. Love to hear about it. Yeah, if you'd love to share with me on that. The next challenge is research and make notes on ancient and antiquated rituals. And when I was in academic theater, I loved theater history. Noreen Barnes, love you. She taught us a ton of the different rituals that happened and encouraged us to, explore those rituals that happened with theater practitioners, and just looking into all the stuff that they did to get themselves as actors and as practitioners into the mood, and then how they got their audience into the mood to know that, hey, something really cool is going to happen. She was also my teacher at SIU, and I don't think she was at that show, although I think she would have loved it. So, research that for yourself. Maybe you find something that has worked thousands of years ago that works for you today. Why not? Tap into that collective unconsciousness. And then design an offbeat ritual for yourself, for a character you're creating, or for a project you and your team are designing. And I think that's perfect. Like if you are a writer and you're writing a novel, to give your one of your characters some sort of ritual that they do. Because we all really have them. We all are impacted by them. We all respond to ritual. So if you can inject that into your character, just whatever it is, it could be something silly of they when they're tying their shoe, they tap their ear 3 times or something like that. Just that level of detail will really draw in your reader and go, oh, this isn't just some two-dimensional character. It adds something to it. One thing that I'm thinking of is No Country for Old Men, when when the main bad guy is flipping a coin, and that decides if he's going to kill the person or not. Wow. You think about how he developed that, and it's just a little bit of the movie, but it just adds that extra ookiness. That's a word that we're going to use today, ookiness, to that character that really makes you fear that character for your life. You never want to see that character in life at all. You never want to be his target. And that really brings the um, that really brings the imagination of your audience to full force, to conjoin with you to make that thing happen. Couple of thoughts I want to leave you with is, first thing is setting the stage for your creativity. So when we do these rituals, it gets us in a certain mindset to know, hey, listen, we're going to be creating now. It gets you set up for it, which you really should go ahead and do that for yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to start that ritual for yourself to get you to where you need to be to create. Another thing is, it harnesses the rhythms of routine. People, artists want to have a nice body of work that their audience can choose from. If you have something that is just a one off and you never do anything else again, you've got a lot more to say than just that one off thing, because you're living day in and day out. So it gets you into a routine, it gets you into a rhythm which, again goes back to the groundness, the primordial oozeness, ookiness and oozeness today. But it gets you in that rhythm. So that way you don't have to wait for this, inspiration fairy, idea fairy. It's constantly going and constantly going. It cultivates a mindfulness through rituals. So it gets you in the mindset. It's like having that morning meditation or that evening meditation or that morning cup of tea just to, all right, we're turning everything on and we're going to rock it out and do some wonderful creativity. And it also can help you. Another thing that a ritual can do can help you celebrate milestones in progress. So when I was working for the army and we would, somebody would get a job, we'd ring a bell and go, "Hey, that's success." And when one of our soldiers, got set up for a job as they were leaving the army, we rang that bell and was like, "Yes, that that's a wonderful thing." And it was the whole thing of who gets to ring the bell. Who's going to ring the bell today? And yeah, I rang the bell a lot, 500 times in 5 years. That felt great. And even today, when I hear a bell, I'm like, somebody got a job? Who? And it let everybody know something great happened or something great is about to happen. However, you set up that ritual, go ahead and start setting that up today. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode on ritual. I'd suggest go go onto YouTube or whatnot, grab that Soundgarden song "Birth Ritual" and re-listen to this episode with that in the background because that's in the background of my head. So that way you can understand what's going through my brain. But I do honestly, I want to thank you for you know tuning into today's episode. And I'd like to hear what's going on in your neck of the woods. I'd like to hear from you. You can reach out to me, Timothy at createartpodcast.com. Um, I want to know what's going to make this a 5-star podcast for you if it isn't already. You can rate me on your podcast app if you want. That's fine. I appreciate that. That's great. But I'd rather hear directly from you. What's going to make this a 5-star podcast? Is the music too long? Am I rambling too long? Do you want more guests? Do you want fewer guests? Do you want to be on the show? Do you want me to talk about this topic? Do you want me to talk about that topic? Do you want me to do a project with you? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear from you. Again, Timothy at createartpodcast.com. Couple of housekeeping things I want to leave you with. I do run a monthly newsletter. It's called Create Art Podcast Newsletter. And you can get that at timothybrien.substack.com. Brian is spelled Brien. And with that, it's a monthly thing where I let what I'm doing, and I give you a couple of ideas for projects that you can do for that month if you choose to do those. Uh, Again, email me, let me know how those turn out for you. Love to see some photographs of those when you're in the process or completing them. I'm on, yeah, obviously YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So definitely feel free to check out those resources there for yourself. Links again are going to be in the show notes. And feel free to share this with a friend. I'm not going to bite your hand off. So go ahead and feel free to share it with that friend that may need to have a little ritual into their life. Another thing I want to talk to you about is a couple of my other podcasts that I run. One of them is Find a Podcast About, and that's where I help you find that next binge-worthy podcast and outsmart the algorithm. You can find that at findapodcastabout.xyz. And a lot of times I'll have on the podcast hosts that I'm reviewing. And basically, it's just to help you out. Find that podcast that, I'm excited about and I want to share it with you. And take a listen to that for yourself. The other podcast that I do run that I have is called Cannabis Stories, and you can find that one at cannabisstories.podbean.com, and that's where we share stories about responsible consumption of the Lord's lettuce. So feel free to check that out for yourself. All right. Well, I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your ritual or the rest of your day, whatever that may be. And really hope that you have a great one. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen. I want you to go out there, tame that inner critic, create more than you consume, and go out there and make some art for somebody you love, yourself. I'll talk with you next time.